Welcome back, everyone. I'm Leila.
And I'm Laura.
And this is For Your Penjoyment, a show about fountain pens and the joys they bring us.
Brought to you by Pen Boutique.
So how are you doing today, Laura?
I'm feeling complicated.
Ooh.
I'm feeling kind of scattered because there's a lot going on right now, like planning for the spin-off show, different fun things, like my birthday's coming up, which I usually feel about, but this year I'm feeling optimistic about it.
I love that.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite customers came in today. We're filming this on a different day of the week than we usually do.
Right.
So the store's open. It's usually not. And
so we've got people running back and forth.
One of my favorite new customers came in and brought me donuts, Filipino ube donuts, and trade for a pen. Which is awesome. Thank you so much, Bernice.
Shout out to Bernice. That's right.
And Markenda came in. It was so wonderful to see her.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. So, like, lots of stuff going on. I feel slightly overwhelmed, but kind of in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, optimistic and happy.
I love that for you.
How about you?
I too feel all over the place. Recording on a different day has a different vibe to it. You know, there's a lot of kinetic energy. There's, coworkers running back and forth.
There's all these people around who aren't usually around. And different people. People that are usually around, like Joy, aren't here.
Right.
It's very different.
It's very weird. And a lot of noises in the periphery.
You might hear little faint ping noises when people come in and out the door, running to the back to get stuff that customers need in the store.
Exactly.
Who
knows?
It's a little distracting, but not too bad, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So what pen are you using today?
I'm so happy to have you here, though. I've been missing you.
I've missed you, too. It's very strange not to be here during the week.
It's strange not seeing you almost every day.
Right.
We still see each other a bit, and that's wonderful.
That is wonderful.
I'm always happy to see you. Pen of the day.
Pen of the day.
I have been using my Aurora Optima recently.
Ooh.
And I have a different ink than the one I mentioned last time, I think. And it's one of my favorite inks, the Sailor Ink Studio 735.
Ooh, I like that one.
It's a purple ink that sheens really beautifully, and when you're using it on a paper that's not super sheeny, it has really pretty shading too. I've really been enjoying this ink, and I actually have it in two different pens at the same time. I have it in my Sailor 1911 L also, and it looks totally different because that's an extra fine.
Sure.
So I just couldn't resist having it in both pens.
Yeah, that's
and I don't
cool.
feel like it's redundant because they look really different.
Yeah, depending on the nib size, they present differently.
They really do.
Which we will get into
We
later.
will, yes. What about you? What pen do you have today?
I have my Pilot Kakuno.
Aww.
So several episodes ago, when we did a questionnaire, I mentioned that I didn't understand Hobonichi planners, that they went above my head.
Yeah.
Fast forward to a few weeks ago, I bought my first Hobonichi. Now, they use Tomoe River paper, which is great, but it's a little on the thin side. So after using my medium nibs for a couple sentences, I realized I needed a finer nib to work with.
And don't they have like a grid that's really tiny?
It is very tiny. It is not medium nib friendly.
No.
It is very extra fine and fine friendly. Yeah. So I picked up 2 Kakunos, fine nibs. I'm using one of them. I have a light green Pilot ink in it.
Oh, that's what that ink
was.
I was wondering what that ink was.
Yeah, from their
pretty.
Mixable box.
Cool. Oh, wow.
So I'm quite satisfied with the line weight here. I'm mastering the art of writing very tiny.
That's challenging.
But I'm really enjoying the Hobonichi experience. And I feel more organized.
Awesome.
I feel like I can streamline things. So I'm winning. I'm getting the organization thing.
It's always cool when you try a different nib size that you didn't think you liked, and then you force yourself to use it a little bit, and then you realize, hey, I actually like this nib size too.
Right.
And you
something we'll get to later as well.
And,
right.
Yeah.
So that's been an interesting experience, learning that I like
cool.
fine nibs.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, last episode, we brought to you the great pen swap.
Yes.
We showed you our rotation, who swapped what. Well, we have the results of that.
There's a big cliffhanger.
There is a big cliffhanger.
There was a big cliffhanger.
There was. Excuse me. I'm sure you all are chomping at the bit to know who liked what.
Of course. Who wouldn't be?
Exactly. So let's cut to those clips to see the results of the great pen swap. Welcome back to the great pen swap, everyone. So, Harsh.
Yep.
About a month ago, I loaned you my Leonardo Momento Zero with a medium nib.
I didn't lose it.
I'm so happy to hear that. So, you had a month to play with it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the pen?
I like it a lot. I think the biggest change for me was that it's a medium nib, and I tend to lean towards extra fines and fines. But what I like about medium nibs is that you actually get to play around with different qualities of the ink, which in my everyday use for like journaling and whatnot, when I reach for those extra fines, I'm not getting any shimmer, I'm not getting any shading, I'm not really getting any sheen, maybe on Tomo River, but like
Sure.
maybe. So you actually get to like play around with different qualities of ink, which I really appreciate. I thought the ink pairing that you got in this as well was really great. It accented the blues, and are there purples in this?
There's some purples.
There's some purples in this,
but
it's
you
a blue.
got the
It's a blue
blues.
ink.
That's right.
I'm moderately reliable half of the time.
I love it.
But yeah, the nib was great. I didn't have any issues with like feedback or anything. Medium felt great, and I did end up, because I use it pretty consistently because I wanted to play around with it for the swap. So I ended up using what we had in the cartridge, in the converter and the sample as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I went through it pretty quickly, but I've been journaling a lot with it, and it's been great. So it's a honestly 10 out of 10 experience. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm almost sorry I have to give it back to you.
Aw. Well, thank you very much for playing with it.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we got to do this. I'm glad the Momento Zero got another endorsement.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of my favorite lines of pens Leonardo has to offer. And Rangoli is just special to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Hello, Harsh.
Hi.
I still have your pen.
I'm glad you do.
I have carried this pen most of the time either in my traveler's notebook.
Okay,
I have
sure.
like this little vinyl pocket thingy in
Yeah.
there, and it's so tiny I could just stick
Nice.
it in there. It
Yeah,
barely
yeah.
even makes a bulge in the notebook. Or like I have a little extra space on the edge of my pen case that's not even taking up one of the loops. It's just kind of
Sure.
like crammed over on the edge,
Yeah.
snuggling next to the other ones. It's so small. I really appreciate how portable it is.
I was going to say, I feel like that is a
Yeah.
main feature of it.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh, no.
yeah, no,
I feel a tone shift.
no, I'm thinking about what I want to say about it. So
What's up?
you've owned this pen for about a year, right?
Yes.
So one thing that I really like is the, what's it called? Patina.
Sure. Yeah,
the
yeah.
patination,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. And when you first get this pen, it's like really, really shiny, like a brand new penny.
Yeah.
But when you touch it, you get that like penny smell on your hands.
Yes, you can
Your
do that. Yeah.
pen does not do that penny smell anymore.
Sure.
Because it has the patina
I was going to say, yeah, over
built up.
time, yeah.
Yeah. Which I was like nervous about
Sure.
getting a copper pen,
Yeah.
but no, it's something that only lasts
because
for
I
a certain amount.
considered hitting it with some lemon juice before I gave it to you, just so you could have your own
Mm-hmm.
reset. But I guess we're glad that I didn't for your purposes.
I mean, that would have been interesting
Sure.
too, but I was surprised that like I wasn't bothered by the smell at
Sure.
all. I
Sure,
just
sure,
thought
sure.
it was something that might bother me, and it didn't.
Gosh.
The pen itself, the nib, I was shocked by how smooth it is for an extra fine.
Sure, yeah,
It is
yeah.
a really, really extra fine.
Yeah.
I mean, a really, really smooth extra fine. And it is a really, really extra fine,
It is,
too.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it is the same extra fineness as my Sailor extra fine.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which is very impressive. I can write really, really small with it.
Yeah.
Now, I did have a little bit of a problem with this pen just from, like, the way I hold the pen.
Sure. Like hard starting?
Yeah, no, like skipping, because
Okay, sure.
I tend to tilt my hand a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like with an extra fine, it's much more
And
sensitive to that.
Some more than others. And
Yeah,
just
yeah.
this one, it had kind of a strict sweet spot.
Sure.
And just something about the way I held it, I was getting frustrated. It would skip for me.
That's
Like if I
understandable.
wrote with it really deliberately,
Yeah.
I loved how it looked. I
Yeah.
loved the fineness of it. I found it pretty comfortable. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I wouldn't write an insanely long
Sure.
thing with it. But just for notes and stuff, it's even though it's really tiny, I find it comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
And I
And that's the
think
thing. It's nice and pocketable when it's
Yeah.
capped, but it is like a good length for it when you actually
Yeah, it's
post
not
it.
super
It's a good
short or
time.
anything.
Yeah.
But when I would try to write really long things with it, I
Sure.
had skipping issues because my own fault, the way I hold it.
Sure,
It's just
yeah,
not
yeah.
compatible with this particular nib. I know you tried the same nib, worked perfectly fine
Sure.
for you.
Yeah.
So I didn't use up the cartridge. Now, I did do something which was cool. I wanted to experiment with the new converter.
The convert, the little fold-out
yes,
guy.
the new fold.
How did you like it?
converter.
Because I haven't used that before.
I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a little folding thing
Yeah.
so that it's small enough, but you got enough space to grab it
Sure.
to actually use it. It's what they call a piston converter, so it's
Yeah.
just like pumps in and out
In
to
and out,
suck
yeah,
the
yeah.
ink up. It works really well.
Nice.
I got a pretty complete fill with it.
Sure.
Like I sucked it up and then I spit out the ink again and then I
Sure.
sucked it up again
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get rid of the excess air.
Mhm.
Filled really well.
Nice.
Really like it. The
Cool.
only thing is when you're using this converter,
Yeah.
you have to make sure you remember to fold the little handle back up again.
Oh, good note. Yeah.
One
yeah,
time
yeah.
I forgot to
And
fold
you're
it
just
back,
like, it's
and
like
I
it's not
start.
reaching.
No, I started to screw the pen together, and because I hadn't folded it, it was too
Oh, it was
long.
pushing it
and
back.
ink shot out of the pen. Fortunately,
Oh,
it
boy.
got on my kitchen counter. It was no big
Gotcha.
deal. I just wiped it up.
Yeah,
but
yeah. But that is good to note. I will
if
be
you're
mindful of
refilling
that.
it, on the fly somewhere, make
Sure.
sure you remember to fold it up before you
I will need to remember that because I would be one to forget.
yeah, but overall, I think it's a really great converter that they came out with.
Sure, yeah.
because-
I was honestly skeptical about it because I
Yeah.
thought it would be too small.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a pain to have to clean a syringe
Sure.
and everything.
Yeah, because that's what I was doing
before.
before. I was just
I know.
syringe filling a cartridge.
And
yeah.
I like syringe filling cartridges,
Yeah.
but it's
It's
more
finicky,
work. You
yeah.
can't do it as often.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't hold very much, you do need to refill it more
Right.
often. But with the extra fine nib, it lasts, I think, a pretty decent amount of
Yeah,
time.
for sure.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed playing around with it.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here you go.
Cheers.
All right, Laura.
Yes.
I have your pen. Your E95S.
My beloved E95S.
Yes.
Or more.
Your E95S.
Yes.
And after a month, I have some thoughts,
Okay.
and I wanted to share,
Please
like
do.
everybody else. So first off and foremost, this is a medium nib.
Right.
And I write with fine, extra fine.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, when I wrote with it, I was like,
You
panic
hated
mode.
it.
No, I didn't hate it. I
You
was in
panicked.
panic mode.
Okay.
When it hit the paper, it was too thick in a way.
Like took up too much
Yeah, it took up too much
space. Yeah.
space for me, just for my handwriting.
Right. Just what
But
you're used to.
I can change my handwriting, so I did a little tweaking, and I
Whoa.
made some tweaks to how I wrote.
Interesting.
And I wanted to share with the viewers how much ink I have left in your pen. Because you gave me an ink vial as well.
Okay.
And I literally have this much ink.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if this will show up, but
I
can do a
I
close up.
hope that somebody watching out there can see
Yeah,
that
it's
I
like
use this pen.
an eighth of an inch or something
Maybe.
left in the bottom.
I want to say, give
so
or
you've
take.
used up one cartridge plus a pretty full ink vial.
Yes.
Of
I would say it
Yamabudo.
was pretty full.
Yeah,
I
it
would
was.
say.
I mean, it wasn't full to the top, but it was
So,
pretty full.
yeah, it was pretty full. So that being said, I got some writing done with this pen, and
you
I
did.
found it really enjoyable, actually. Although it's a medium, no hate, but although it's a medium,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I did wish that there was a little bit of feedback.
It's
But
a little too smooth.
It's a little too smooth for me. That was like also a
It is
moment of shock.
very
I was
smooth.
like, oh my
Yeah.
god. I didn't even feel like I was like moving my hand. It was just so smooth.
Right. It's one
But-
of my smoothest pens.
Yeah.
It's exceptionally smooth.
I really enjoyed it,
Cool.
but I'll give it back to you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah, I kept noticing, like, why is there an empty space in my pen case where my pilot section? Oh, yeah, Christy has the E95S
Yes. And now it's back, and it can go back in its spot.
with its two brothers.
Yes.
Well, Christy,
Yes, Layla.
I spent the last month using your Conklin Durograph, and I have some thoughts.
Before you get into it,
Sure.
I was looking for this pen, and I totally forgot that I gave it to you. I was searching the other day. I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where's number 8? Where's number 8? And then I realized you had it.
Well, I've
I
kept
just
it
needed to
very
share.
safe over the last month.
I just needed to share.
Oh my god! At no point in time did I lose it. It was under
Thank
my
you.
watchful eye.
Amazing.
Now, I gravitated toward this pen a lot because of the abalone. I tend to gravitate toward my daily carry based on how I'm feeling and what color I'm vibing with
Yeah.
that day. So the ooh shiny factor definitely made me reach for this more than some of my other pens. I don't have a lot of experience with finer nibs.
Okay.
So that was a little bit of an adjustment for me. But once I got the hang of it, like tailoring my handwriting to the nib size, it felt very natural. And then once I got my Hobonichi, I needed a finer nib. This worked out very nicely.
I will say it is great on the Hobonichis.
Exactly. Now, I will say it's a little feedbacky. It's very much like a graphite pencil on paper. That being said, because I like sailors, I did not mind that sensation whatsoever. I mean, it is, as Scott Hammer said, the trinity, the relationship of the nib to the ink to the paper, which I love. So, and I enjoyed your custom ink solution. Because it's a finer nib, it doesn't deposit as much ink, so it took me a longer time to go through the cartridge, but I did refill it.
Amazing.
I got through, not cartridge, converter. I got through the whole converter during this process.
Yeah.
I wrote a lot with it.
I'm glad.
I am very fond of this pen. So I will give it back to you.
Thank you. My number 8.
Your number
It's
8,
finally
that's
back.
right. No need to search any further.
Yes. I will say that the
Abalone.
abalone. I will say that the abalone is truly something that I feel like anybody would gravitate towards. I feel like it's such a beautiful pen, and once I was told that it was made with real abalone, I was just had to come with me. It was mine as soon as that sentence was said.
Well, thank you very much, Christy.
You're very welcome.
You know, using that Conklin really did help me appreciate finer nibs.
Now you're becoming extra fine now.
Oh, no.
Fine.
Fine is just fine for me.
I'm wondering if Christy will be pen-abled into joining the E95S club.
It's entirely possible. She did enjoy it
She
quite
did
a bit.
enjoy it. Maybe she'd get a fine nib one instead of a medium.
Sure.
That E95S, pretty irresistible.
It is a great pen. 3 out of 4 of us have
I
one.
know.
So we wanted to have an INKY episode.
Yeah, people have been asking for this.
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to talk about, we wanted to address some questions behind shading inks, sheening inks, and shimmering inks. This has been a popular topic in the Discord,
Yep.
on the DC Pen Crew Facebook page, and people are just genuinely curious about it.
Right. It's something that a lot of people, even if they've been in the pen world for a long time, might not necessarily know.
Right,
I mean, some people, they know all about it,
right.
but it's not necessarily a newbie thing.
Mm-mm.
Like pen reps don't even necessarily know these things because they don't focus on this. They focus on the pens they're selling. They're not experimenting with ink like other people are.
Exactly.
And it's not something that's obvious. It's something that you need to
Experience,
about.
right. 100%.
And not all brands really focus on these different things. Some brands are very simple.
Exactly.
Inks, so,
And some brands excel at one thing,
Yeah.
some brands excel at another, and we're going to talk about that today.
wait. We have to say our cool word.
Oh, shimmerade.
Yes.
We couldn't figure out what word or words would fit
They
on the
wouldn't all
letterboard.
fit, so.
So we created the worst portmanteau of all time.
The best portmanteau of all
I'm
time.
embarrassed that I thought of this, but we came up with shimmerade.
It sounds like a kind of disgusting drink, though.
Right, adjacent to like Powerade or Gatorade.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drink it.
Yeah.
Don't drink ink, y'all. It's not good for you.
Especially not with shimmer in it.
Definitely not. The particles. So let's kick it off by talking about shading inks.
Shading.
They're probably the most mysterious
You think so?
of the inks.
Maybe,
Not a lot of
yeah.
people have a good grasp on what shading is. So let's break that down.
Yeah, so I like to explain things. So I wrote down notes so
Yeah.
I would explain things well. So I would describe what shading is as it's a gradient effect.
Correct.
Where writing looks lighter in some areas and darker in others. And it happens when, because fountain pen ink is liquid, so when you're writing with it, it flows.
Mm-hmm.
And it flows from your nib and pools like at the bottom of a stroke or where you hold your nib for a longer amount of time,
Exactly.
like where it lingers.
Right.
And some inks shade more than others. Like if you look online, there will be lists of these are good shading inks.
Right. But there's a lot of things that go
A lot
into
of things
that.
affect
A lot of
it, though.
variables.
Yeah. Light colored inks tend to have more shading because when they're really saturated colors, you don't see the shading.
don't
It's
see it
just
as
like
much.
dark, dark, dark. To see the best shading with your ink, use broader nibs.
Exactly.
So
I would say
I'm-
medium nib and above.
Yeah, I'm not really super into shading. You are.
Right.
Because you tend to use.
Medium and up.
Yep.
I would describe shading as the relationship between the nib, the ink, and the paper. You have
Definitely.
a wetter ink, it's going to pool a little more. You'll see that saturation of color.
Yeah,
You have, different types of paper make a difference.
absolutely.
And again, the nib size, like Laura said, medium and above, you're going to see the most variation in your ink.
Right. Like you could use the same ink in a fine pen or an extra fine pen and a broad pen. You're
Completely
not going to
different
see shading
experience.
maybe in one pen, but the other pen. Now, this was something I really noticed when I wrote, I can't remember which blog article. I think I wrote a blog article about comparing the 15 different pilot nibs on the 912, and then I wrote one about all the different sailor nibs.
Yeah.
And writing with all those different nibs, I used the same ink for every nib. And it was crazy how different that same ink would look nib to nib.
Sure.
And some of those nibs are really super, super broad, like the coarse nib that Pilot offers.
Definitely.
Or like a really wide stub nib. And you'd see this crazy amount of shading and the ink would look a lot lighter. Whereas if it's concentrated in a thin nib, you
You're
don't
not gonna
see
notice
that
much of a
and it looks
difference.
darker. Yeah. From what I've read, it's best to use a pen with average to dry flow because otherwise the ink will just be too saturated on the page and you won't get that cool, beautiful shading. Why don't you talk about dual shading? Because you're into that.
I love dual shading inks. I think they have a lot of personality. Now, dual shaders,
This is
represent-
so cool and weird. It's just crazy.
it's cool and weird, exactly. You can pick up two colors in one ink. I find that Sailor
Yes.
does the best at this.
Yes.
In fact, some of my favorite dual shaders, 90% of them are Sailor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of mysterious. I don't even know how it happens. But
Right. With a finer nib, they can look a little muddy.
Yeah, they tend to be lighter color inks. But it's you'll get green in one part of the letter and purple in another part of the letter or something.
Like, for example, the Sailor States line, Hawaii in particular. It is a blue and pinky purple dual shading ink. So when you have a broader nib, you can pick up both tones as you're writing.
Yeah. Now, these can be tricky to get the beautiful effects from, like you said. It's not going to show up on all paper.
Right. Paper does make a
It
difference.
makes a big difference.
I've noticed Tomoe River definitely
Yeah.
enhances the experience.
Paper that's not too absorbent will show these effects a lot better. And you can see the effects if you use the ink for art.
Yes.
Just if you smear
Beautiful
it,
swatches.
they're gorgeous. They're super beautiful. Yeah, I've used that type of ink for art, and I really enjoy it for art.
Sure.
But for me, I don't like writing with that type of ink because it's hard to read for me. I don't like.
It can be.
I was talking to I remember. I was talking to Bill about it, actually. And he likened ink with a lot of shading to swirly pens.
I can see that.
And I was like, yeah, that's maybe why I don't gravitate towards using ink with a lot of shading.
That's probably why dual shaders
Yeah.
have a lot of appeal to me.
And why I don't use them much. 'Cause
Sure.
to me, seeing a lot of variation in the letter, if it's a little bit, I really appreciate it. But ones with a lot, it just it feels like too much for me.
Sure.
It's like kind of tiring for me to look at.
Oh, interesting.
If it's just a little, I like it. But yeah, too much, I don't enjoy.
I can
seeing
understand that. If the color is too light for me, I don't gravitate toward it. Like
Yeah.
a yellow with a pink effect as well, which Sailor does have some.
Yeah.
I don't jump on those. But again, blues and greens with some pinks and purples, that's a sweet spot for me.
So those type of inks are called dual shaders or chroma shading or multichromatic. There's
Multichromatic.
different names for them. I remember it was kind of around the time that I was first getting into fountain pens. Those became really popular.
Sure.
It was around the same time that the Sailor Ink Studio series came out, in like 1, 2, 3, etc. People were
1, 2, 3 is one of my
crazy
favorites.
about them, and you couldn't even get them. They'd sell out so quick. Yeah, and I own some of those because I was dying to try them, and then I bought them, and I was like, "Wow, this is really cool."
Oh,
But
sure.
I didn't use it in my pens because it was just, So, for each of these categories, I wrote down what I feel are the pros and cons.
I love that.
So-
Let's get into that.
For shading, I would say the pros are it's beautiful,
Personality.
it's cool, it's just cool.
Yeah.
Cons for me would be harder to read
Legibility
and
for
kind
sure.
of swirly-esque.
My sweet spot.
What about you? What would you say?
I would say that falls in line with my pros and cons. It can be really beautiful. I like some dual shading inks to write letters to give them a little pizzazz. But yeah, the lighter the ink, the harder the time you're gonna have to read. And yeah, that's where my cons end for me.
Okay. Now you pulled a few. Ones
I pulled
that
a
you
few
think
swatches
are
that I love.
favorites, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote with a few of my favorite shaders.
Sure.
None of mine are dual shading because I don't go for those, but they're ones that I enjoy personally when I write with them. The amount of shading that they provide for me.
Perfect.
So what ones do you have?
So as we mentioned, I've got Sailor Ink Studio 123.
That's probably the most famous multichromatic.
Oh,
one.
sure.
It's really cool.
I have a Sailor Manyo ink, the Neko Yanagi.
I own that one.
So do I.
Practically never use it,
Ah.
but it's so pretty.
It is so pretty.
So pretty.
And then, as I mentioned earlier, Sailor Hawaii.
Ooh,
This is gorgeous.
that is so pretty.
And I have a pen that matches it perfectly, and I can be matchy-matchy
my
at
gosh.
times.
Nice.
So it worked out beautifully.
Nice.
What about you?
So mine, I used Sailor Siboko, which is that nano pigmented
That's
one.
right.
It's a blue ink. It's not a tool shader, but it shows up really well, and I like to use that one in my Faber-Castell Hexo.
Love
it's just
that.
very compatible with that pen, and it shows off the shading. This one is pretty subtle, but I enjoy the shading in
I
it.
can see that.
The Waterman-inspired blue, and I like to put that in my Pilot Prera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the third one is one that I don't use a lot, but when I do, I really enjoy how beautiful it is. It's Sailor Shikiori Kinmokuse? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Kin Mokuse.
So I didn't have that in a pen, so I just used the dip pen.
Oh, but it shows
to
it
write with
nicely.
But it's so pretty. It's almost like a sunset
Yeah.
looking effect.
I would say so.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
A lot
ink.
of nice variation there.
And that ink, when we talk about the sheening section, it has sheen in a weird way that's different from most sheen. It's just kind of a shiny sheen.
Ooh.
Like it's not a contrasting color, but it's shiny and glossy, and I enjoy that about that ink.
Speaking of which,
Speaking of which,
let's get into sheening
okay,
inks.
I gotta change my page.
Go for it.
Sheening.
Sheening.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote down sheening.
Okay. We got that?
No. Start over here. All right. Sheening.
Got it.
Sheening. Sheening is a metallic or shiny effect. Usually it's metallic, but occasionally it's just kind of shiny.
Yeah.
That shows up when the dyes or pigments in an ink are concentrated on their paper surface instead of absorbing into the paper. And you can only see it once the ink dries.
Right.
So you'll write with it and be like, is this going to sheen or not? And then wait a second.
That's right.
It did. So you need to use paper that's not absorbent or you're never going to see sheening
No,
effects.
because it has to pool a little
Right,
at
it
the
can't
top.
soak in, exactly. It's dramatically affected by your paper choice.
For sure.
The color of the sheen can be a surprising contrast to the color of the ink, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Common colors of sheen, I just looked through, I have that Fountain Pen Companion database.
Yes.
And I had made notes about what color sheen shows up for the different inks that I entered in there. So common ones that I had listed were bronze, magenta, gold, copper, pink, purple, and green.
Yeah, sounds about right. I would say so.
But the color, the base color, is often nothing
Completely
like
different.
that color.
Correct.
And the effect can show up sometimes like a lot, like it'll completely obliterate the underlying color, or other times it'll just be a little bit, like you'll just see it on part
Around
of a
the
letter.
edges.
Yeah, or like a halo
Yeah.
effect. It's cool and unexpected how it will show up.
Exactly. Like, for example, Diamine in their ink vent calendar has those ultra
Super
sheening
sheen, yeah,
inks
yeah.
that really do take over the base color.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike shading, it works best in pens that have a wetter flow so that the ink dries slowly and you get kind of a pool. Of
Right.
One thing that I've noticed that kind of surprises me is you can even see really pretty sheen sometimes with a fine nib.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not as noticeable, but it's concentrated through the fine nib.
Sure.
Like my Sailor Extra Fine, I use that same ink that's in here, and it really shows the sheen beautifully. You know, you have to look a little bit harder to
Right.
see it because it's a really thin line, but it's really pretty. It looks
Yeah, when
really
it hits
shiny.
the light, it just glows a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about sheen. You usually have to like tilt the paper a little bit,
To
or
really see the full
or
effect
light it
of
from the side, or you can't just look straight at it and necessarily see the full
Right.
effect unless it's a really, really,
Really
concentrated, just like chuck the ink down on the paper.
100%.
Yeah.
So, we mentioned pros and cons of shading inks.
Yeah. What would you say are pros and cons of sheening?
Biggest pro, they're beautiful.
So beautiful.
Love writing with sheening inks.
I do.
In holiday cards, again, writing letters to give the letter personality.
Totally.
A con, the dry time.
Yes.
Because it pools at the top,
Yes.
it takes longer to dry and you're more prone to
It
smearing.
can smear. Some of them take really, really long time to
gosh,
dry.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also find, and I don't know if it is just me, I find them harder to clean out of my pen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I've found them sometimes to clog my pens.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have an ink and I'll be like, wow, this is so beautiful.
And
And
the
then a
next
couple days
day-
later, I'm like, help, why isn't my pen writing?
Mm-hmm.
Because the sheen is like thicker
A
and
little
it
more
kind of
viscous.
coagulates in there. And, yeah.
Yep.
But
Indeed.
I really enjoy sheen
Same.
a lot.
It's gorgeous.
I love using sheening inks as long as they don't
Right.
clog my pen.
And unlike shaders, which tend to be lighter, you can have a lot of rich colors with beautiful sheen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's show some examples.
Okay. What do you have?
Now, I love Colorverse for their wide range of sheening inks.
Me too.
So, first one, I picked is Andromeda from the Astrophysics series.
Oh, yeah, I like
It's
that
this
one, too.
beautiful plummy burgundy with like a bronzy sheen to it.
Nice.
It's gorgeous.
Yes.
Second one, which is probably my favorite color combo in terms of base color and sheen.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we have Gravity Wave.
Ooh.
So it's this nice teal with a reddish purple sheen.
Super pretty.
And then last but not least, we have Supernova.
Yay! I was hoping you'd pick that one. I didn't think of that one when I was doing mine, but it's one of my favorites.
It's a beautiful blue with a red halo around
Look at
it.
that pink sheen. That's gorgeous.
What did you
Love
pick?
it.
You got a few
So
picks there.
I used ones that I actually had in my pens.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even make any up. They were already in my way too many inked pens. I had my Aurora Optima with Ink Studio 735.
Right.
And then the same exact ink in my Sailor 1911L, which is an extra fine. This one's a fine, but it's a much thicker fine because it's not Japanese.
Sure.
So look how different those two look. It's
Oh,
kind of crazy.
wow.
I don't know if you can see the sheen from
I
where you're
certainly
sitting.
can.
The next one I had on my list is one I've mentioned a lot too. Sailor Ink Studio 731.
This is one of my
That
favorites.
pink ink with what is it, like gold sheen?
I would say gold.
Yeah, right, because you can see it a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
Love that one, and you
It's
can
so fun.
you can see that sheen really easily. Yeah. Then lately I've been using Diamine Majestic Blue in my Pilot Custom 743 with the Falcon.
Yeah, yeah.
Really enjoying that. It's
Oh.
got red sheen. It's a blue ink with red sheen. Really pretty. That's that one right there.
Uh-huh.
And then another one that I keep in my really special Pelican M600 extra fine is Pilot Iroshizuku Shoro.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the Iroshizuku inks have really pretty sheen.
They
like
certainly do.
Yamabudo does.
Yes.
A lot of them do. But that one is one that I've been using lately and really enjoying. It's a little more subtle than
Yeah,
some of these,
I would
but
say so.
I really appreciated it when I was using it in this kind of coloring book thing that I have,
Right.
and it's just like, wow, I didn't know that it had sheen. And when I saw that sheen, I was just like, that really elevated the
Definitely.
ink for me. That's
Like Shuro is a beautiful base color as is.
Yeah.
That sheen just makes it pop.
It's kind of like, what would you call that color? Kind of a teal color?
I would say so.
And then
Shiro's
it's got sort of a magenta, purple? I don't know.
Reddish purple.
Reddish purple.
Somewhere in
sheen.
between.
Yeah. A lot of times the color sheen's a little hard to define.
Right. It can look one way to one person, completely different to another.
Yeah, and I love that they look metallic. It's just so weird and
It is
cool.
weird and cool.
It's
I
really
love
weird
it.
and cool.
Kind of like us weird and cool
That's
aunties.
right. Weird and cool aunties.
We're going to talk about my favorite inks now.
Oh.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think I like all of these things equally,
Okay.
but for different things.
Yeah.
I love me a shimmering ink.
I want to see how you feel about shimmering ink.
Now, shimmering inks are very nib size
You didn't respond
dependent.
to my prompt.
Which prompt?
I said I want to see how you feel about shimmering inks. That's better.
I feel quite positively to the point where I'm shimmying for shimmering.
very good.
No, I think they have a lot of personality.
Yeah, they're really fun.
They're fun. Sometimes they elevate my mood. There's something about a little sparkle that
Yes.
goes a long way
Yes.
for me.
They're the kind of ink that isn't right for everybody.
True.
They're not really office friendly.
Yeah, you're not
Or
going to use them on an official
If
document.
you're a really serious kind of person, you're going to be like, that's not really for me. But
But if you do writing for fun, journaling, doodling, etc.,
yeah,
shimmering's where it's at.
they're really
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Exactly.
I'm not somebody that loves sparkly stuff all the time. but I love sparkly Christmas ornaments.
Sure.
I love wearing my sequined vest. I like
Exactly.
sparkly stuff in small doses.
Mm-hmm.
And shimmer inks give you that.
They satisfy
just
that
a little
itch.
bit of sparkly.
Exactly. Big question.
What is it?
So what makes a shimmering ink shimmer?
So shimmer inks have basically tiny little glitter particles in them that sparkle when the ink dries on the page.
That's right.
And again, it's something that you don't see until the ink dries.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like sheening, how much shimmer you see can vary. Sometimes the shimmer like completely obliterates the underlying color.
Sure.
Other times you'll just catch little glimpses of it, and it's really subtle.
And that's very brand dependent.
Yes,
You know,
brand
some
dependent.
brands use a not chunkier glitter, but more particulates in theirs than others.
Yeah, and it's dependent partially on what pen you use. Again,
Right.
what kind of nib you use.
Now, one thing I recommend, for me, most shimmers make me nervous in a medium nib.
Agreed.
Now, I've noticed that, like, let's say Diamine Chameleon inks
Interesting.
can work well in my mediums and my Lamy cursive.
Yes, I use Chameleon Astral in my Lamy cursive nib.
So do I.
Yes.
But when you get into proper shimmering, I err on the side of caution
Same.
and use broad and above.
Same. I would use a broad or a stub,
Because they can clog.
or even a double broad. Or,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my pens is a Pilot 74 in double broad. It's not something that
Not something
we
you
sell.
use, right?
No, I
I
don't.
mean, you don't bring it
Yeah,
in.
right. And we don't sell this pen. It's like a Japanese only one I got a long time ago. We don't sell that nib
New
size.
size.
But I always keep the same ink in that pen.
Which one is it?
It's that one right there.
Ooh.
Colorverse Project 001 Shiny Black.
Oh, that's
And
pretty.
it's a really thick nib, a double broad. It shows up beautifully. It always flows beautifully in that pen. I've never had it clog that pen.
For sure.
But other pens I put shimmer ink in, it just
I love it.
choke city. So
Yeah.
you gotta be careful with what pens you put your shimmer ink in.
100%. You also have.
Wait, I want to talk a little bit.
Oh,
more
I'm
the
sorry. I didn't mean to
properties.
interrupt.
I know. I jumped ahead because it popped into my head.
Sure.
But like with the other properties we were talking about, the paper affects it a little bit too.
A little bit.
Not as
Not as
much,
much as the
though.
other properties.
Not as much at all.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely nib size, very important. And like you were saying, some brands have larger particles, some brands have smaller
Right.
particles.
And some brands.
I don't want to name names about them, but there are a few brands I don't really use because I feel like the particles are too big.
Right, I agree that some of them are just more dip pen friendly than
Yeah.
fountain pen.
Yeah. Brands that I have had success with are Colorverse and Diamine.
Correct. Same for me.
Same for you? Okay.
Mhm.
When you use shimmer inks, you always have to shake the bottle first.
Shake the bottle so those particulates come up,
Yeah.
and you can suck them up in your converter or piston foil
And
or
sometimes
whatever.
you have to really shake it pretty hard.
They get stuck down
You
there.
can look through the bottle and see if they're
Mm-hmm.
mixed up or not.
100%.
And you also may need to like kind of twirl your pen when you're using it to keep it
Keep it.
mixed up
Yeah, that's
inside
right.
the pen itself.
So not as easy to fill up,
Yeah.
but still not horrible. You know, still easy enough.
Right, yeah. I mean, once you shake it, it's no
It's
harder.
good to go.
but-
Exactly.
So what about the pros and cons, would you say?
Pros, personality, and sparkle. I love that.
It's pretty. It's just pretty, and
Exactly.
it makes you happy to look at it.
Right. Cons include, as Laura said earlier, it's not the most professional ink.
Yeah.
Also, the particulates don't stay on the ink sometimes. If the paper is rubbing against something,
Yeah.
they can escape,
Yeah.
make your whole paper a little shimmery.
Yeah, or get on your hand or your clothes. Or,
Right, exactly. If you have no problem with that,
yeah.
great.
I mean, sometimes it's more messy than other times.
This is true.
But they're little particles in there. They're not bonded with the paper the
Right.
way the liquid part is. So
Exactly.
they can rub
They can
off.
escape. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then lastly, for me, hard to clean
And
at times.
And they can clog your
They
pens.
can clog a pen. That's right.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to be patient with them, if you're willing to put in that extra effort
Yeah.
to flush your pens,
Yeah.
they're a fun ink to have.
And sometimes when I'm using a pen that has a shimmer ink in it, it will clog it temporarily, and then I'll just run it under the faucet, and it'll
It'll do its thing again.
That clog will get loose, and it'll write beautifully. So it's not like the end of the world if it clogs.
Exactly.
You just have to kind of go with the flow.
You gotta go with the flow. Let's get back to your
Yeah.
swatches.
Oh, you want to do mine first?
Yeah, because you mentioned
Okay.
shiny black.
So yeah, I had shiny black, which is one I've loved for a long time, and I always keep it in that pen.
Love that.
I've had it in that pen for, I don't know, maybe 4 years. I don't know, a
Whoa.
long time.
Long time.
I just leave it in that pen all the time.
Yeah,
And it never clogs in that pen because it's a very, very broad pen.
that's impressive.
It has a well-sealed cap, and that ink flows well.
Nice.
So, the other one I've recently been crazy about that I mention a lot is
Right.
Astral,
It's so beautiful.
which is one of the... Wait, did we explain what a chameleon ink is?
Chameleon inks are in the family of shimmer
Yeah,
inks.
it's a type of shimmer.
It's a type of shimmer ink. The chameleon inks have a dual shift to their shimmer. So with Astral, for example, to me, the shimmer looks orangey at some angles and green at other
yeah,
angles.
definitely green.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're so weird and cool.
Exactly.
It's very cool. So yeah, Astral I use in my famous Lamy hairpin, which has the cursive nib in it. And then another one I love, and I think you love that color
I
too.
do.
Diamond Enchanted Ocean, which is like kind of like
Yes.
petrol-y kind of color.
Mhm.
What would you say the color of the shimmer is in that?
It's silvery.
Silvery. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I like to use that one in my Kaweco Sport
Yep.
double broad.
I have it in an Opus 88. Mm-hmm.
And then lately I've been using one that I just made up.
And that's the great thing about shimmers. You can mix and match
You can.
sometimes.
Yeah. So the one I invented is called Golden Persimmon.
I love that.
And it's a combination of Irishizuku Fuyugaki
Mm-hmm.
and Pelican Edelstein Golden Barrel. And it's this beautiful orange with gold sheen. And
I
it's
love that.
really shimmery.
It's
gold
gorgeous.
shimmer, not sheen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Excellent.
Makes me happy to use that. Which ones did you bring?
I picked diamine inks for mine. Most of the shimmers I own are diamine inks. So we've got first Spearmint Diva.
Oh yeah, good old Sterrett Pl.
I have this in my Kaweco Iridescent Sport in double broad. Writes like a dream and matches that pen very well.
Very nice.
Do you want to talk about Bearded Diva for a second?
I
It's cute.
don't remember exactly. Shreya and I made up that name, but I don't remember how it
One of you
started.
misheard.
Yeah. Either that. Did we mishear each other, or did it like the phone mishear? I don't remember.
I don't
Something got misheard as Bearded Diva
That's
instead
right.
of Spearmint Diva, and now that's the
That's
name.
the
of that
name.
ink. That's what we call it.
I also have Firefly. It's a beautiful, like, orangey tone red with a
yeah.
gold shimmer. I have it in a Banu. Again, matches perfectly. I love writing with it.
Pretty. That was one that you recommended to me.
For the
a
holiday.
and I
Mhm.
recommended that as a holiday card ink on my blog. Yeah, it's so pretty.
And then lastly, we have Tropical Glow.
Ooh,
It's a beautiful tealy turquoise
pretty. Very
with
pretty.
a silvery blue shimmer on it.
That's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It looks like the ocean, like the Caribbean or something.
Exactly.
Very nice. There's so many different beautiful shimmerings, though, like all different cool colors.
So many different combinations.
Yeah.
Like Hayabusa by Colorverse, for
Yeah,
example.
yes. Oh, yeah. That's. I should have thought of that one.
I
That's
should
another
have.
one of my favorites.
It just came to mind.
That's the one that I put in my
Grape Mini.
Yeah, yes,
Twisby.
My Twisby Diamond Mini,
Mhm.
because it matches it so well. And that, yeah, I've used that one a lot, and I really like that one.
So yeah, folks, that is our breakdown of the 3 main types of ink for fountain pens.
So I'm curious, do
Yeah.
you have a favorite between sheening, shimmering, and shading?
An everyday favorite, I have to admit, would be shading.
Okay.
It's just fun.
For me, my favorite would be sheening.
Ugh.
But I like them all.
I like them all for different things.
Yeah.
No one is better than the other. It's just what resonates with you, what you
Yeah.
gravitate
Or
toward.
you might be in the mood for one sometimes.
Exactly. So this wasn't a showdown.
No.
This was
No.
a breakdown.
Definitely not. People wanted us to do like
What's
a
better?
battle between
Exactly. And I can't.
No, I
we
like them
can't.
all.
I
They're
like
all
them
good.
all. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I hope this was eye-opening, inspiring, educational, all kinds of stuff. I hope you'll learn something and you're willing to experiment with different inks after
Yeah,
this.
they're definitely fun to play around with.
Yep.
And you're right. You need to really experiment to figure out what works for you with them and try them on different paper, different pens.
Exactly. Just have fun
etc.
with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one last thing. If you get one of these inks, don't be disappointed if it's not what you expect.
Mm-hmm.
Try using it with a different pen or on a different paper,
That's
and
right.
you may be able to see beautiful properties that you couldn't see if you used it with the wrong paper or pen
Agreed.
at first. Don't just be
Agreed.
like, oh, I hate this.
And chuck it. No.
Yeah,
Give it some time.
yeah, give it time.
Mm-hmm. So if you remember last episode, we had Shreya on the show to talk about her favorite color.
Yes, that was wonderful having her on.
She's so much fun. Now, we're trying to do this a little more often. Grab a staff member, have them talk about a favorite.
Uh-huh.
I think it's just fun to get to know a staff member's preferences.
And I like hearing about colors that I'm not really personally into. It makes me think more about them and like, I never realized that thing has a side that I never even thought about. you
Right.
know? Yeah.
Like Harsh, for example.
Yes, especially harsh.
Harsh is a fan of brown ink.
Yes.
And we have a customer, Mikkel, who is also a
Yes.
fan of brown inks and pens.
Mm-hmm.
And until using a brown ink myself, I didn't understand the basis of its appeal.
Yeah.
But let's talk to Harsh for a moment about why brown is his
Yeah, I'm
favorite
really
and why he
curious.
gravitates toward them.
Yeah. To hear
Yeah.
what he's going to say about that.
Let's check it out. Well, Harsh, I'm glad you could join me today.
Happy to be here.
Excellent. So in the last episode, we talked with Shreya about her
Right.
favorite color, light blue, and she showed off some products that were her faves.
Yeah.
Before we get into that part of things,
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to tell our audience what your favorite color is.
Well, my personal favorite color is yellow. But in terms of inks and fountain pens and whatnot, I lean towards brown, which is, I suppose, like in a similar neighborhood. You need yellow to make brown. I do tend to think of a lot of it in terms of paint. So like what colors you need to combine to make other stuff.
Sure, a lot of color theory going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Which feels unfounded sometimes because I'm partially colorblind.
I wanted you to say more about that.
Yeah, shout out to my mom. It's X-linked regressive.
Don't ask me.
Recessive,
Recessive,
which means
right.
the mother carries it and passes it on. So I got it through there. My uncles are both colorblind. I didn't find out until high school, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
You were just perceiving the world your way, going about your life.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like everybody asked me, oh, like, didn't it come up in like elementary school or something? Because like you're coloring, whatnot. But no, I remember it was AP Bio and I handed in a test, and the teacher pulled me aside afterwards and she was like, I'm gonna let this go because you're a good kid or whatever, but like it's very unprofessional to turn in a test with purple ink. And I was just like, I didn't know that I had purple ink in my pen, but thank you for letting me know.
Huh. All right.
That was the first I ever heard of it.
That is one way to find out. Okay. So let's. I am really curious to how you perceive browns, like different shades of brown.
Sure.
One day, let's go through the swatch book.
Sure.
You tell me what you see.
That'd be fun, actually,
And I will
yeah.
be like flabbergasted.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that one day. That'll be a future segment. For now,
Yeah.
we're talking about brown pens, brown inks, things that resonate with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, you brought a few pens.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them.
Sure, absolutely. So I know anybody who has met me in the store. See, she knew immediately.
I love this story. Please go on.
So anybody who has talked to me in the store has talked about, or I have pitched them this pen at least one time. This is the Kaweco Sport. I personally got the solid brass version. It's not the aluminum one. And I love it because it's virtually indestructible. This was my first fountain pen, and it's great. It's adorable. It's bulletproof. It's fantastic. I have famously, accidentally, mind you, run over it with my car. I was at a friend's place for dinner. I was very new to the hobby. I was excited about it. I was showing it to him. Then I got home from dinner that evening. I didn't notice it in my pocket. I didn't find it in my bag when I got home, and so I texted him. I was like, "Did I happen to leave it at your house? I know we were at the kitchen table." He said no. I wake up the next morning. I'm reversing out of my driveway, and I'm like, "There's something shiny in my driveway. What is that?" It was my Kaweco Sport, and she's fine. She's great. Look at her. I'll throw up some closer up photos later. But I like the fact that bronze changes over time. It has the whole patina shtick. And it's neat because you can just reset it.
Yeah.
Just hit it with some lemon juice or some vinegar, and you can restart in its own little path, and it's neat.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love your indestructible pen story.
It's great.
I swear.
Kaweco, sponsor me.
I would love Kaweco to sponsor you. Do you know how many brass Kawecos he's sold based on that
Purely
story?
because of this story.
Purely because of that ringing endorsement. It's
Yeah.
amazing to watch him work in the store, and people are just like, hey, take my money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So we've got the Kaweco in
Yes.
brass. What else do we have?
So up next, we've got my Pilot Custom 823. Of course, I got the amber color, and I have Irisuzuku Yamaguri in here as well, which I've talked about on the show previously. Great ink reservoir, and the ink flows really well in it. I had this ground to an Architect, which I feel like really suits my handwriting, and it is a dark enough brown ink that it doesn't feel gimmicky. Like if I had to sign for something or whatever, like if I roll up to, I don't know, a real estate thing or something with like a shimmery ink, I'm going to feel a little silly.
Right.
Or if I show up with, I don't know, like a really bright purple or,
Which you wouldn't be able to tell.
I also wouldn't, yeah.
Circling back to that. I wonder how you perceive our whole set at that point. Is it just a shade of gray around here?
Well, no, it's a cool color.
Okay.
So I'm not always convinced that the walls are purple. I do sometimes think they're blue. I actually think that's blue. Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
But so back to the
pen.
No, you're
Sorry.
fine. No, you're fine. You're fine. So the Yamaguri is a dark enough color that I feel like is very sober.
It's a professional color.
Yeah. And it's just a good everyday like reach for it, and it's a good time. This next one may be moderately blasphemous. I don't know how picky folks are about this.
Oh my.
But this was okayed by Mr. Scott Hammer himself, so we're good. So this is a Sailor, the silent brass.
Oh, I was curious about that one.
Yeah. So it's neat because I kind of Frankensteined it. So I got a Naginata Fude nib from another Sailor and put it on there.
Okay.
And listen, before the purists come for me, again, Mr. Scott Hammer himself at the event with our store was just like, yeah, all of them are swappable. We don't sell them separately so you can swap them, but if you have two of them, you can swap them. And basically that was his thing. So I have from a local company, Birmingham pen company, I have Wilting Thicket in here. And it's very, very pretty. It is like a lighter brown with a lot of shading. You want to try it?
Yes, please.
And I feel like with the food specifically, it like lends itself to shading inks because you can get lots of different line variation, and I just feel like the pairing works really well. And again, it also matches the pen, I think, really nicely.
loving that.
It's such a good time, and yeah, I can show some photo samples up close for you folks. But as blasphemous as it may be, it is a very good time, and I'm enjoying it.
And that's what matters most, right? It is your hobby, and you're enjoying it.
I appreciate it.
Let's talk inks. You've mentioned Yamaguri.
Yes.
What else did you bring to the table today?
So I got some fun ones. So Shogun is I keep hearing different things about this. Some people say it's a black ink with copper sheen. Some folks are like it's a really, 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 really dark brown ink with copper sheen.
Shimmer, you mean?
Yes, shimmer. Retract that. Beep. Whatever. But I'm still not entirely sure. Where do you land on that?
I personally believe it is a dark brown.
Dark brown with copper in it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm down. That's the thing. It's
And
great
I think they
either
play
way.
so well with each other.
It does,
It's a
yeah.
beautiful ink.
And I feel like a lot of people are picky about brown and black mixing together. I'm like, number one, if brown and black don't go together, this doesn't work either. And two, like leopards, cheetahs, vultures. Like there's so
They
many
exist in
examples.
nature.
They exist in nature.
Exactly.
I didn't do that. God did it. So if you have an issue with that, anyway.
Hot takes with Harsh today.
So Shogun is really great because it's a very dark ink, which can be boring if it doesn't shade a lot, but it has the copper shimmer, which I think gives it a nice touch. It's very elegant. I love using it on cards, and that's a fantastic time. Up next, I've got Platinum's classic from their classic ink series, the Sepia Black. These are
beautiful
really
ink.
fun. I know that you had showed me you have the Cassis Black, which is really fun. And so this is one of the brown versions of it. And so they have iron gull in them, but they're not pure iron gull inks.
right.
Correct. And so they do have shading quality to them, and they also color change a little bit over time. For some of them, it's a bit more dramatic. For some of them, it's a bit more subdued. I'm very intrigued about the citrus one as well.
Yes, citrus looks like a beautiful color.
Yeah, absolutely. But I picked this one because, again, it's in my usual range of like dark to medium brown, and I reach for it. But the change up over here I have is Diamine's Terracotta,
Ooh.
which if you just look at this logo and the sample up front, it doesn't look like it's going to be too legible, but it shades nicely, and even in like a fine or even up something up to a medium or a broad, it's actually pretty legible on paper. And so I like the fact that it's legible while still showing off some dynamic qualities of shading. So it has some personality without being too in your face.
That is wonderful. I like the variation you have in your inks. That's fantastic.
Oh,
Well, thank you for sharing that with us today.
thanks for listening.
Absolutely. That was a lot of fun. Harsh is a character.
I was really surprised that his favorite color is yellow.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And I talked to him a little bit more about that in the store afterwards. Because that's a weird favorite color to me.
You think so?
I don't know, just to me. Like, I don't really like yellow in most situations, but I do like yellow a lot in some situations.
Sure.
It's such a warm, happy, welcoming type of color.
Mm-hmm.
I like yellow, like, for an entryway or a kitchen or, you know, yellow flowers, stuff like that. But I don't like to wear yellow or use yellow ink.
Harsh looks good in yellow, though.
He does.
And he's a warm, happy, and welcoming kind
Yes,
of guy,
he
much
is.
like yellow.
It just made me think more about yellow. I know we just talked about brown on the show, but when he brought up yellow, it just... I didn't know that
didn't
he
expect
loved
that.
yellow, and it made me like, yellow. All these colors that people are bringing up and mentioning that they appreciate it make me think more about the color myself and what situations I like it in. And,
Bingo.
bingo.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of colors and inks,
Yes.
for the last episode we had last year, what we're leaving in 2024,
Oh, yeah.
bringing in 2025, Christy mentioned she wanted to experiment with new inks.
Yes.
She wanted to break out of the blues and try something different.
True.
So she came up with this segment. She blindly picked out of 4 categories a new ink to try.
Inspired by those hairstyle videos they
Right.
have on YouTube.
On TikTok,
TikTok,
and Instagram, people will blindly choose the hair cut and color
Yes.
based on what their stylist is holding up behind them.
I would
So-
never do that.
So we did that with ink.
We did that with
Very
a
inconsequential.
little safer.
A little
yeah.
safer. So let's see what Christy picked.
All right, everyone. Just me and you. So I have a segment that I want to talk about that I want to give a shout out to all those hairstylists out there. They have their client sit in the chair and they hold two pieces of paper up behind them, and the end result is just based off of them pointing to those pieces of paper. That being said, I am going to do this with inks. So I'm going to look at you guys. I'm not going to look behind me. But there should be a piece of paper that comes behind me, and we'll get to some pointing, and we'll get an end result. Let's go.
All right. First sheets.
This one.
All right.
Hopefully that was a good one.
Next.
I'm going to go this one.
All right.
I'm going to go this one again.
All right. Last one.
Ooh. Ooh. This one.
All right.
Hopefully that's a good thing. I don't know. We'll see. So after doing my little pointing, I had chosen colorverse, earth tones, cool tones, and also shimmering. I'm excited to see what I find. Oop, thank you. I have here the Colorverse USA Special Ink Gold Rush in the glistening. I'm very excited. I have never actually seen this color other than in the ink book, and I actually haven't had any customer come to me asking for it specifically, so I'm very excited to try it myself. I'm going to be using a Lamy with a cursive nib, and I'm very excited to give you my thoughts after I test it out.
Well, I sure do hope Christy likes Colorverse Gold Rush.
When I was trying to find in the ink swatch book what color fit those categories, that was the only color I could find.
That was the only thing that came to mind. I'm glad you found
Oh my
it.
gosh,
I'm
it
glad
was
you were
so
on my
hard.
wavelength there. I know it. I didn't expect her to go cool tone with that one, or
Cool tone and earth tone. It's like, what?
It's really limiting, but it exists.
In
So
one
we
ink.
rolled in one ink, and we rolled with it.
Yes.
Excellent.
And I had to teach both Harsh and Christy the word greige.
Greige is a very important color. If you've seen the Gold Rush ink, which we'll show a swatch of, that qualifies as a greige with shimmer.
I would say it's a greige.
It's solid greige.
It's fun to say the word greige.
It's a good color name. It's a good portmanteau. I like it.
Yeah.
So Laura,
Yes.
your birthday's coming up.
It is. Now this episode will air after my birthday.
That's
But
right.
we're recording it a couple days before.
A couple
my
days
birthday.
before. That's right. So for today's silly segment,
You came up with this idea, didn't you?
yeah, I wanted to do a birthday survey, which again we can use on other staff members for their birthdays if they're willing to come on the show. And since you're the second birthday in Pen Boutique and Renee didn't want to be on the show,
Aw,
you're my first victim.
I feel special.
As you should. This is special time. We haven't done a birthday survey before.
No.
This will be cute. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, I don't usually do a lot for my birthday. I haven't had a birthday party since I was in 5th grade. So I liked using my imagination for this silly segment.
Very good. I'm glad. Shall we kick it off?
Please do. I'm ready.
So first question.
Yes.
What pen model number is closest to your age?
I would say Pilot E95S.
Now, why is that, Laura?
I don't care to explain that.
Fair enough.
That was just the number that
Lady
I
never
feel
tells.
describes my age the best.
Like a fine wine, right?
Yep.
That's right. Second question. Are you
Okay.
ready for it?
Mhm.
What pen would be your ideal birthday gift?
Okay, so I mean, I'm pretty special, so my ideal birthday gift would be the Namiki Golden Rose.
Oh, yeah. I can
But
see that.
I would settle for the Mont Blanc Blue Hour Le Grand Solitaire.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. They'd both be.
You'd
They'd
settle
both
for
be
it.
pretty nice gifts.
And now, if you had a pen-themed birthday party,
This was so fun.
which brand of pen would you pick as your theme?
Yeah, so I decided I would pick Pelican. What a surprise.
The Pelican Passion strikes
Pelican
again.
Passion birthday party. So we kind of brainstormed some fun ideas for this party.
We certainly did.
First of all, I would have a green striped tablecloth. It's like a big long table with green stripe.
Love
Pelican
that.
green, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then there would be streamers that would be golden barrel and copper rose gold colored
Ooh,
streamers.
very pretty.
Metallic streamers. And then I want to have party favors. You know how, like, at kids' parties, there's the little party favors that you hand out?
Absolutely.
And because pelicans like to eat fish, I would have Swedish fish and goldfish crackers, like on a little bundle. You know,
That's cute.
you know, tissue paper around
That is
them or
very
whatever.
cute.
Yeah, I tried to think of some other fish, but like sardines or anchovies would kind of be disgusting.
Be a little
so-
stinky.
A little smelly. So I
Yeah.
won't have them. Of course, the party would have German food because
100%.
Pelican.
Mm-hmm.
You thought of this one, right?
Yes.
Tell me.
Ah, the M205 Moonstone-inspired disco
I
ball.
love this idea.
Yeah.
My party definitely needs a disco.
It certainly does. It's got beautiful
Absolutely.
rainbow reflect.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dress code. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, I'm pretty German. I require a dress code at this party. I think that the people that want to wear a suit should wear the M605 Gustav Stresemann style.
Ooh.
It's the gray and black
Mhm.
striped, the pen that's named after him. He was a
That's
foreign minister
right.
of the Weimar Republic.
Love that.
I personally will be wearing a suit, but not that one because it's my birthday, so I have a special suit.
That's right.
You thought of this idea for
Mhm.
me. My outfit will be M1000 Rodden Black Infinity suit
Yeah.
with, what did you call them?
Like holographic stripes and
Like
details.
sequin. You said like holographic
Either sequins or
sequins?
like holographic fabric.
So it would have that,
that like
Rodden
Rodden
effect.
shift. Yeah.
Sounds so good.
It sounds pretty
Want
cool.
this. Yes, and you were going to wear. Wait
Okay.
a sec. So I think most people that want to wear gowns to this party would wear M200 series
Yeah.
inspired, you know, like
You got a lot of variation
petrol
there.
marble, the pastel blue, like all those different beautiful ones that are in that series. But you are special, of course.
Thank
so.
you. I wanted to wear an M600 Glauco Kanban inspired gown.
That would be so,
That'd be so pretty.
amazing.
That's
oh my
right.
gosh, Leila. Love it. Now, the best part of this party, we were thinking about what the dessert would be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like Black Forest cake
Or German
or
chocolate.
German chocolate. So I was just like, I want one of those giant cakes that people jump out of. And I want Gary from Pelican to jump out wearing lederhosen.
Yes. Let's do this. Get on that,
Get
Gary.
on that, Gary.
The lederhosen detail especially
Of course.
tickles me.
That's so good.
That is a brilliant birthday party, Laura.
Sounds so fun. I wish it was real, but
Me too.
it's fun to just think about it.
Absolutely. We have two more questions.
Two more questions. Okay.
If your birthday candle was in the shape of a pen, what pen would it be?
Okay. So I had a fun idea for this one. I want the Rodden Stripes Pilot Vanishing Point
Ooh.
candle shape.
Click, click.
And you'd click it and then the wick would come out instead of a nib, and
Yeah.
it would do like the
like,
sparkler like
effect?
and it would light up the rosin, and you'd see all the different colors.
That's so pretty. That'd be very cute.
Now, would this be on the same cake that
That
Gary jumps
pops out
out
of. Maybe not the decoy cake. Maybe
Oh, there'd be a little
a little real cake.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fine.
And then last question, which is definitely a thinker.
Yes. I thought a lot about this one.
What pen represents where you are at in your life right now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about this one for multiple days, and then I got inspired. My choice is the Aurora Kaleidoscope Luce Blue.
Ooh, tell me why.
Just, I feel like my life is a kaleidoscope right now, and like all these colors and things changing, and
That's
I don't
beautiful.
know. It's
I like that for
beautiful,
you.
and I can't really put into words why, but when I thought of that pen, I was like, yeah, that's
Mhm.
right for me right now.
I love that. I love that. Can I mention what I thought of for you?
Sure.
I likened you to a sea glass Estabrook Esty.
Yeah.
So not a very high end pen. I apologize, but there's something very interesting about sea glass.
Yeah.
Like it starts out as a broken beer bottle, and then transforms over time. The seas can be rough. It gets battered and bruised sometimes, but the end result is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Whoa. Nice glasses.
Thanks.
Well, folks, we're nearing the end of the episode. You know what that means.
Wait, I forgot how to do this. I'm so flabbergasted.
Well, folks, we're nearing the end of the episode. You know what that means.
Mailbag. That was so badly
That wasn't
done.
a good one.
That's because I'm flabbergasted because Eric Arnold and his wife Margot just came into the store and surprised me for my birthday, right in the middle of filming.
Yeah.
He brought a cake. He brought a card, which I haven't previewed, so we might cut it if there's stuff in it that I don't want to share. And he brought a present.
Nice.
So I stuck them in the mailbag.
Sounds good.
I have never had a surprise birthday party before.
That's really sweet. That is very sweet. Aww.
Yes.
Well, kick it off.
Should we read that first or do it in
Yeah.
order?
Let's do it. Read that first.
All
It
right.
just happened.
All right, it just happened. So we got happy birthday stamp, even though it was hand delivered. It says for her eyes only. So this might be private, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's got snowman washi tape.
Oh, how cool.
Wow, I love the card.
The quilling is so
Quilling
nice.
octopus. Oh, it's so beautiful.
I love
like
that.
the shade of blue. It's so calming.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. Dear Laura, I just wanted to let you know how exceptionally happy I am that you were born. While I truly enjoy our shared passion for pens and inks, what means the most to me is your friendship. Whether you are truly listening with concern as I share my thoughts and something, you know what that says? Seek your
yeah.
counsel, or laughing in delight with me as we share the joy of some new experience, that connection is our strength. Your friendship makes me feel like I have value and that I matter. Thank you for that. I hope that this next year of your life is a rewarding and happy one with little stress, and I hope you have the happiest of birthdays. Your friend, Eric. Thank you, Eric.
That is super sweet.
That's so nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he gave me a gift, too.
You certainly did.
Wrapped, patented Eric Arnold style.
Uh-huh.
Fake bow made out of painter's
Love
tape.
it.
Love it. I will use my handy dandy letter opener. Oh no. I'm the kind of person that likes to not rip paper so I can recycle it. And I mean, not recycle it, but reuse it.
Yeah.
But I won't reuse this paper, so. Ooh.
Oh, how cute.
Because I mentioned putting together
A
a puzzle.
puzzle.
It's a puzzle with hot air balloon stamps.
That's
so,
clever.
That's so Eric Arnold.
It is very Eric
Thank
Arnold.
you, Eric. That's
That is
so
very
special.
sweet.
And it's a postcard at the same time.
I love that.
Wow.
How cool.
All right, we have a few more letters in there. And
All right.
postcards. I think that one is first.
This one?
Yeah, that one was actually
For us.
captured by the rest of the Pen Boutique people and hung on the wall.
Right.
We have this wall where we have different holiday cards that vendors and people like that sent us to Pen Boutique. And I didn't notice it was supposed to be for us, so I just found it now and stuck it in the bag.
We've got a postcard from Rockridge Chess Club.
Thank you.
Got a cool, what looks like Thai
Oh, wow.
boat.
I
on the
like
front.
that.
Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Rockridge Chess Club. And we have drawn in, ooh, take care. And what a mess.
Let's see.
Yeah, there you go.
Rockridge Chess Club has incredible handwriting. I love it. And sailboat postcard stamp.
Very
thematic.
nice. Very thematic.
Very cool.
And then we have one from Stacy Schultz.
Oh, yes. I like that sparkly sticker on this one.
Yeah, that's cute. I like that a lot.
And they didn't cancel that pretty bird stamp.
It's a very pretty bird stamp.
Very pretty.
Nice. So it looks like this was written on Locta paper.
Oh, yeah.
Greetings, Leila and Laura, and the whole Pen Boutique family. From a wandering Stacy currently in a winter wonderland snow globe at Holden Village, elevation 3,210 feet.
It's a big number.
That's a big number. It's been snowing at least a bit each day this week, with an especially big dump at Christmas.
Wow.
I'll soon be on to the next snowy location, and we'll have to catch up with digital communications later, as I'm in a rather remote location.
Cool.
Writing on monk paper with a pilot varsity.
Nice.
Oddly, I'm seeing more bleeding on this page than on others I've used. As a result, I won't send a sketch this time, but perhaps I'll get another better letter off soon with more art.
Cool.
And we've got a picture of Orion sending snow angels. Stacy. Thank you, Stacy.
And it has a snow angel drawing.
Yeah, it does.
I love seeing Orion in the winter.
Me
That's
too.
something I always love doing, just looking up into the sky. And
100%.
There's Orion again.
And then lastly, we have a special treat from Warkenda's Fountain Pen Club.
Oh, that's right.
Now, we can't read any of these letters.
No, but we can tell about
But we
this.
can tell about it.
Yeah.
This was addressed to Lena and the wonderful people of Pen Boutique.
And Warkenda came into the store this
Today.
morning and
Mhm.
gave this to us.
Gave this to us. And I'm just going to show you. We have a lot of letters thanking Lena for donating fountain pens to the Fountain Pen Club.
Yeah, and the club is, how old are the kids in her club?
They're under 10,
Yeah, they're
do
like
believe.
elementary school age
Yeah.
kids.
We have a lot of letters appreciating Lena.
Yes.
And we have one from a left-hander.
Yes, she's told us about her left
That's right. We have a lot of thank yous. This is very sweet. Lena
so sweet.
is going to love this when she gets back.
Yes, she is.
So thank you, Warkenda, for delivering
thank
this
you
to
so
us.
much, Warkenda.
As always, folks, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be updated when we upload. We also have a Discord. The link will be below. Please feel free to check that out. We also love getting mail. Send us a letter. The address is below. Gotta love those glasses. Laura, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, it has.
Folks, remember to keep writing. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.